Okay, let's have our second let's have our second example. Okay, so this will be our second example. So a kilometer of wire having a diameter of 117 millimeter and a resistance of 0.031 ohm is drawn down so that its diameter is 5.0 millimeter. What does its resistance become? So take note of the word drawn, stretch, drawn, stretch. Okay? When you said drawn, yan yung parang pinukpok siya. Okay? You drawn and cut. Take note, pag sinabi niyang cut, is that nababawasan yung volume mo. Pero, pag ini-stretch mo or draw mo siya, therefore, your volume will not decrease. Theoretically, it will not decrease, but it would remain constant, right? So, we have R1 is equal to, we all know that R1 is equal to 0.031 ohm. 0.31 ohm. Diameter is 5.0 millimeter. What does its resistance become? Okay, we have our A1, which is equal to 11.7 millimeter squared. Okay, that is our diameter. So we have area is equal to pi d squared all over 4, right? That is an area of a circle, or you may say that is equal to pi r squared, right? But take note that your d is equal to r over 2, tama? So if this is your circle, right? So gandahan natin yung circle. So if this is your circle, we have this is the part of your diameter, right? This is your diameter. Alright? This is your T. And this is your radius. Right? In this case, your diameter is given, which is equal to 11.7 millimeter. That is our D1. So take that our D1 is equal to 11.7 millimeter. And our D2, or your diameter 2, if it would be drawn, okay? Let's say at drawn, our R2 is unknown. Our R1, our D1, D2 is equal to 5 millimeters. Okay, so take that the diameter is equal to D1 is equal to 11.7 times 10 raised to negative 3 meters, and our D2 is equal to 5 times 10 raised to negative 3 meters. Right? Tama ba? Okay, tama. So we have unknown R2. So as I have discussing a while ago, when you are drawing a resistance, your volume should not be or should not change, or you're drawing the material. So let's say we have our first material, which has an diameter of 11. 11.7. Okay? That is our first wire. But it was thrown into a smaller wire which has a diameter equal to 5 millimeter. Okay? So, kagandahan ko na lang para hindi siya maging katulad ng una. Okay? Ayan. So, ano mapapansin nyo? Pag dire-draw mo siya, hahaba yung length niya, di ba? Parang nagmamartilyo ka ng sample natin yung yero. So, pag pinamartilyo mo, na pinapanibis at pinapanibis po siya, humahaba siya. Okay? Until maputol. But take note that the problem indicated that it was drawn. Hindi siya nakat, hindi siya naputol. Okay? Na-drawn lang siya. Into 5.0 millimeter. Okay? So, notice that your V1 is equal to V2. Right? Your V1 must be equal to V2. That is our first. Or that is our first equation. Or parameter. So, since your V1 is equal to V2, I may say that since our volume is equal to volume is equal to area of the base multiplied the length. Kasi hindi pwede natin makuha yung length. No, not yet. Because there is no specific volume that was given. What we know is that your volume, when drawn, is equal to the volume of the bigger. Right? Therefore, lalaki yung length mo. Pero hindi niya sinabi, hindi siya nag-indicate ng kahit anong volume. Okay? So, what we know is that volume 1 is equal to our volume 2. Right? So, since volume 1 is equal to volume 2, I may assume that our volume is also equal to area of the base multiplied by the length. But since our volume is equal to area of the base times length, and we don't know the value of your volume and your length, therefore I may say that my length is equal to volume all over area of the base. Okay? So, since we are comparing two similar resistance, our rho is equal. So, another parameter, rho 1 is equal to rho 2. Sir, bakit siya equal? Parehas na material yan. Okay? Two copper conductors. This conductor are copper. Okay? Pag hindi siya copper, pag sinabi nung isa is that another conductor which has an equal length is thrown into a resistance, into a smaller conductor. Therefore, mag-iiba yung rho mo. Okay? So, rho 1 is equal to rho 2 since they are the same copper. Okay? P1 is equal to P2. So, these are the parameters that we know. Okay? Rho 1 and rho 2. And our given, which is R2 and D2 and R1 and D1. So, we may say, therefore, is that R1 is equal to rho 1 L1 over A1. And also, I may say that my my R2 is equal to rho 2 multiplied by L2 for A2. So, dividing both sides, we have R1 over R2 is equal to rho 1 over rho 2 multiplied by our L1 over A1 divided by L2 over A2. But since, take note, that we have defined that your P1 is equal to P2, therefore P2 is also equal to P1, right? These are two equations. Okay? So therefore we have R1 over R2. Since rho 1 and rho 2 is equal, rho 1 divided by rho 2 is equal to rho 1 over rho 1 or rho 2 over rho 2, which is equal to 1. This is now therefore equal to 1. Okay, so we have a formula equal to L1 over L1. So itataas natin to, multiplied by our A2 divided by L2 over A1. But what is our L? We have defined that your L is equal to V over AB. Right? That is our L. So since you have defined that your L is equal to V over AB, or L of the base, therefore I may say that my L is equal to V1 over A1 multiplied by our A2. And also we have our V2. Our L2 is equal to V2 over A2 multiplied by our A1. Tama? A1 to. A1. Yeah. So therefore, we may say we have an equation equal to V1 over V2. So pwede kong itaas to, magiging A squared multiplied by A squared all over A squared. A8 squared all over A1 squared. So pwede kong ilabas yung square. So since they have the same volume, so take note that our V1 is equal to V2. So therefore, I may cancel V1 over V2 because V1 over V2 is equal to V1 over V1, which is also equal to V2 over V2, which is equal to 1. Alright, this is 1. So therefore, my R1 over R2 therefore is equal to R1 over R2 is equal to my A2 squared all over my A1 squared. Since R1 over R2 is equal to A2 over A1 squared, I may say that our A2 is equal to pi over 4 multiplied by D2 squared multiplied by square divided by pi over 4 multiplied by D1 squared squared. Since pi 4 over pi 4 squared is equal to 1, therefore I may cancel it because it is equal to 1. So we have therefore equal to D2 raised to 4 over D1 raised to 4. So therefore, more manipulation of the equation, I may say that my R2 is equal to, let's multiply natin, we have R1 multiplied by A1 squared divided by R2 over A2 squared, which is equal to R1 multiplied by D1 raised to 4 all over D2 raised to 4. Okay. So solving for the value of R1 and R2 and R2, we have our R2 which is equal to R2 which is equal to 11 R1 multiplied by D1 raised to 4 all over D2 raised to 4. What is our D1? Our D1 is equal to 11.7 millimeter squared. So R1 multiplied by 11.7 millimeter raised to 4 divided by our D2, which is equal to 5.0 millimeter raised to 4. But what is our R1? Think that our R1 is equal to 0.031 ohm. Okay, multiplied by 11.7 all over 5.04 raised to 4. So cancelling our millimeter raised to 4, we have a value equal to our value equal to, so use your calculator, 0.031 times 11.7 all over 5.0. So close and open parenthesis for 11.7 divided by 5.04 raised to 4. So we have a value equal to 0.90. Actually, we have a problem here in our given. Our D2 is equal to 0.0, 5.0, 5.0. Okay? Yeah. Okay. So we have a value equal to 0.93 ohm. Okay. That is our example number 2. So any question, guys? So you may raise question in the comments. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for our next example, this would be my last example for this topic. Okay, we have a sketch. Our example would be this problem. Okay. Okay. This would be our last example. So we have two copper conductors have equal length. The cross-sectional area of the conductor is 3 times that of the other. If the resistance of the conductor having smaller cross-sectional area is 20 ohm, what is the resistance of the other? So when you're talking about two conductors, so it is about two copper conductors. They are different conductors. Okay, so you have two copper conductors. So gagawa tayo. We will actually have our what you call that, yung relationships. Okay, two copper conductors have equal length. So let's denote that you have your R1, you have your L1 for copper 1, R1 for copper 1, A1 for copper 1, and rho 1 for copper 1. This is for your first conductor. Next is your L2, R2, A2, rho 2, which is for your second conductor. Since we have first and second conductor, we have two conductors, therefore I may say that we would tabulate the given. We have the cross-sectional area of one conductor is 3 times that of the other. So we have the cross-sectional area of one conductor. Let's say your L1 is equal to 3 times that of the other. So L1, let's say L1 have equal length. So therefore my L1 is equal to L2. Okay? That is our first parameter. Next is that if the cross-sectional area of one conductor, so A1 is equal to 3 times of the other, is equal to 3A2. Okay? So this is our second parameter. Do they have equal volume? No. Probably no. Because they have equal length and different area. Okay? We have our row 1 is equal to row 2. Why? Because they have made in the same material. The same material. Okay, let's solve it then. So, we have two conductors. Okay, relationship. Gagawa tayo ng relationship. We have A1. This is your A1. So, mas malaki sa A2 because your A1 is equal to 3 times of your A2. Okay? This is your A2. And then, take note that they have equal lengths. Equal length lang yan. So, no need to worry about your length. I made a note that your L1 is equal to L2. Okay? Equal length. Okay? Pasensya na kayo sa drawing, ha? Ayan. Kasi it does not connect properly. Ayan. Mas nahirapan pa ako sa pag-drawing, guys, kaysa sa pag-solve ng problem. Let's say this will be our length 1 and length 2. So our length 1 and length is equal. Therefore, I may say that L1 is equal to L2 and my area 1 is equal to 3 times area 2. So take note that these parameters will help us in solving the problem easily. So if the conductor having smaller cross-sectional area is 30 ohm, what is the resistance of the other? So what is a conductor has a smaller resistance? So take note that your A2 has a smaller cross-sectional area because it is A1 all over 3. Your cross-sectional area of A2 is the 1/3 of the cross-sectional area of A1. Therefore, R2, I may say, is equal to 20 ohms. Alright? You have your R2 equals 20 ohms. So, what is the resistance of the other? Ang tinatanong ngayon is the resistance of the larger cross-sectional area which is equal to your R1. So, yan yung unknown. So, therefore, let's solve the problem. So, we all know that R is equal to rho L over A. So, putting your subscript R1, P1, L1, A1 and your R2 is equal to rho 2 multiplied by L2 over A2. Okay? So, dividing both equations, let's say your equation 1 divided by equation 2, we have a value equal to R1 over R2, which is equal to rho 1 over rho 2 multiplied by L1 over A1 all over L2 divided by A2. Okay, so you notice the examples wherein we have an equal rho because they have the same material. So copper sila pareho, therefore our P1 and rho 2 is equal. Therefore rho 1 divided by rho 1 is equal to 1, right? And also we have our parameter that our length is equal. So your L1 is equal to L2. Therefore, cancel natin yung L1 divided by L2. We have this parameter. So, therefore, I may say that R1 over R2 is equal to A2 over A1. Okay? Take note that our A2 is equal to A1 divided by 3. Right? Therefore, R1 over R2 is equal to A2 is equal to A1 over 3 divided by A1. Okay? Cancelling A1 since they are equal, A1 divided by A1 is equal to 1. So, therefore, I may say that my R1 is equal to R2 multiplied by 1/3. Right? So as I have said, you don't need to make complicated constant. It's about how you will analyze the problem. Since your constants or you have created a very good parameter, therefore it is easily solvable. So R1 is equal to R2 multiplied by 3. But what is your R2? We have defined that your R2 is equal to 20 ohms. So therefore our R1 is equal to R2 multiplied by 1/3 or 20 divided by 3. Alright? Easy, right? Easy. So here we have it. Please solve the other examples that have already solutions and compare your solution, which will give you a very good answer. Take note that you can kill a chicken so many times. Just like mathematics, you have ways to answer the question. Depende lang kung anong gamay mo at kung ano yung diskarte mo. Okay? So, thank you.